On today's show, we predict our team of the tournament here and talk about the top 5 players in each position at the World Juniors. We'll get into that on today's episode of Locked On NHL Prospects.
You are Locked On NHL Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On NHL Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On this podcast, we break down everything prospects related for you 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. I'm Hattie Kalakash, QMJHL and crossover scout for Elite Prospects, with Sebastian High, USHL and crossover scout for Elite Prospects. And on today's show, we'll be talking about our team of the tournament predictions for Team Canada. We'll start off with our top 5 forwards in the first segment, along with 3 honorable mentions, top 5 defensemen, and 3 honorable mentions in the second segment. Then we'll talk about the goalies in the third segment and dress our team of the tournament. 3 forwards, 2 goalies, two goalies, wow, 2 defensemen and 1 goalie. Before we get into any of that, just remember to like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you think of the episode, and if you're listening on your favorite podcasting platform, please leave us a rating and review, and make sure to make us your first listen of the day. So let's get started right away here with the forwards. And I think that this is going to be a very interesting top 3 because they all have been playing on the same line for about a year now. James Hagens, Ryan Leonard, and Gabe Perreault are in the top 3. But in which order are they? Who's going to be the best forward of the 3 here at this tournament? Talk me through it, Sebastian.
I mean, I think that the smart money has to be on Ryan Leonard here. He is the do-it-all forward on that line. He is the go-to goal scorer. He's a fantastic puck carrier, really underrated puck handler, very deceptive, really great soft skill elements in his game as well. The playmaking often also goes overlooked because he is the scoring element on that line, and you have Perreault and Hagens do a lot of the flashy playmaking, but Leonard's really deceptive with layering playmaking into his goal-scoring habits as well. And beyond that, he's also by far the best defensively of that trio. He's so refined, so intelligent, has the highest motor, highest energy, highest physicality level of all those players. He is made for this tournament, and I think that he's off to a really good start and will just continue to be just a massive difference maker for Team USA. But talk me through Gabe Perreault, because the way that he's progressed his game since his draft year has been otherworldly, and the chemistry that he's built with Ryan Leonard for 3 consecutive years now, so much fun to watch, right?
Absolutely. So Ryan Leonard is your, net crashing, goal scoring, like half wall, like catch and shoot goal scorer. And Gabe Perreault is the guy who sets him up pretty much every time. Like, he is just a phenomenal playmaker. Has gotten a lot more inside driven, a lot more capable of handling physical pressure, which has helped him kind of set up those dishes to Ryan Leonard a lot more effectively at Boston College. And now they just continue to play on the same line. And now they have James Hagens joining him on that line. I think this is a great combination of skills, and all 3 of them work off each other so well. Hagens took some time to kind of get comfortable on that line at Boston College, but he's been very comfortable on that line for the past kind of month and a half. And since then, those 3 have been working phenomenally together. I still think Hagens is going to be the third cog on that line at this tournament just because of how phenomenal Perreault and Leonard are. But that's no knock on Hagens. He's still going to be amazing in this tournament. I still think he's going to be a top 3 forward at this tournament as a draft eligible, which is just going to work wonders for his draft stock, right? Like, I mean, this is just going to continue to help him kind of rack up the opportunities to cement himself as a number 1 overall pick, especially, unfortunately, with Matthew Schaefer's injury there, broken collarbone, gone for 3 months. He's done for the rest of the tournament. So Hagens has a great opportunity to just say, I'm the number 1 overall pick in this draft. And you should pick me here at number 1 to whichever team ends up with the first overall pick in the 2025 NHL draft there. But outside of that line, there are some pretty interesting forwards to talk about as well. I think we'll have an outsider in terms of probably not going to be a top 4 team at this tournament. But Dalibor Dvorsky makes the top 5 here. He's our number 4 forward in the top 5 forwards of this tournament in terms of our predictions. Talk me through why that is exactly, because there are some other great prospects. I mean, Sweden has a whole 12 forwards that are very interesting here. They're probably going to be a top 3 team in this tournament, but there's something different about Dvorsky this year, right?
There is. I mean, he's one of the players with the most experience at this tournament. I believe this is his 3rd consecutive World Junior appearance for Slovakia, and he's been a real difference maker every tournament for this team. And this year, he's stepping into his own, as you mentioned, both in terms of the on and off ice leadership, but also just leading by example every single shift. He's been the hardest working player every shift for Slovakia. He's getting to the grimy areas in the offensive zone, doing the same in the defensive zone as well. He's using his shot to create high-end scoring chances, not only to score himself, but looking for rebounds and tipping options. And he really is a focal point of the offense for Slovakia, while also being that high-intensity leader kind of player. And I think that he's probably, like, after Leonard, the most mature forward at this tournament, just in terms of the 200-foot habits that he has in his game, compared with that level of physicality too, and just constantly initiating contact, really pestering defenses. Really, really great at applying pressure on the forecheck and making life painful in the breakout for opposing defenders. And he's been really good to start here for Slovakia. He scored that 1-0 goal to take the lead against Sweden. And of course, Slovakia didn't win that game in the end, but even just holding a lead against this year's Sweden team is impressive. So he's been really important. And while I don't think he's a slam dunk to be a top 5 forward at this tournament, he's definitely a player that has a foot in the door at this stage. But next we have possibly the other end of the spectrum, not a player with a bunch of experience, not an older player, not a very physical player either. We have Canada's Gavin McKenna for pure dynamism and skill. He's been playing second line minutes. He got a jump in ice time against Latvia, playing about 19 minutes after only playing less than 12 against Finland previous to that. And he looked very good, even though he didn't get onto the goal scoring sheet on the game. Why do you think that he is one of the forwards to really keep an eye on for the top 5 of the tournament?
It's a skill level. I mean, it's just off the charts. I don't think Canada has anyone that can match McKenna in terms of pure ability to just create, especially off the cycle. He is a dominant cycle offense creator. And he doesn't do it through physical mechanics. He doesn't do it through, fending off checks and, handling cross checks in the back and spinning off of checks. And it's really all about finesse and timing and quick reactions and moves under pressure. He gets off the boards really effectively, very, very slippery forward. And I think he brings exactly what Team Canada needs. Canada's built to create off the cycle. If you want someone who's able to blend finesse into that cycle game, McKenna's probably the best in this group at doing that. I mean, sure, they have Callum Ritchie, Easton Cowan, and Bradley Nadeau on the first line, but I think McKenna's going to be playing well enough to dominate as a secondary offensive contributor, quote unquote, on that second line. While also bringing just massive power play upside. It's unfortunate because Schaefer and him had developed some great chemistry, especially on the power play, and now Schaefer's out. But I still think that McKenna is going to be able to continue to create the way that he has so far for Team Canada. And like I said, yeah, he's just a dominant cycle creator, plays very, very well into Dave Cameron's system. And he's just going to get more and more ice time as this tournament rolls on. Let's talk about our 3 honorable mentions now. We have 2 players from Sweden, 1 draft eligible, 1 returnee. Let's start with Victor Eklund. Kind of similar to McKenna in terms of just being very, very effective off the cycle, but he does it in a very different way, doesn't he?
Oh, he really does. He is all intensity, a bunch of skill as well, but so pacey, getting underneath opponent's sticks, initiating contact. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's a real spark plug of a player who just loves to add some more pace and intensity to the game, whereas McKenna tries to maybe slow the game down at points to open up passing lanes to attack. Eklund just tries to up the pace constantly. He's a suffocating player to play against, and he's been fantastic for Sweden so far. We talked about this a little bit in yesterday's episode while we were breaking down the Sweden versus Slovakia game, where of course, Eklund was just working his way up the lineup for Sweden, making his way into the top 6, playing a big role, both offensively and defensively. And we've seen this all season long in Djurgården in Hockey Allsvenskan, Sweden's second pro division. Yeah. Eklund he wins the trust of coaches so rapidly because he never takes a shift off. He's so difficult to play against. He's dangerous offensively. He's a very quick learner as well. When he makes a mistake, when he's maybe benched for a couple shifts for making a couple difficult decisions, he learns and integrates that so rapidly and just blooms as a result of that. He blossoms, and he's a player I think is going to be really important for Sweden at this tournament on their road to potentially a gold medal finish. I mean, I think it's going to be between Sweden, the USA, and Canada. Canada is faltering early on in this tournament. It is kind of an open door for Sweden to walk into, and I think that Eklund's going to be really important on that path. But we still have 2 last forwards to give shout-outs to. First, another Swedish boy in Felix Ungersorum, as well as Canadian Callum Ritchie, two intelligent two-way forwards. One's a center, one's a winger. Talk me through those two players and what they have to do to maybe crack into the top 5 of the tournament's forwards.
For sure. So with Ungersorum, it's just about bringing an extra layer of pace and energy. So far, he's been a phenomenal playmaker. The vision on him is just absolutely ridiculous. And he's really coming into his own in terms of that ability to just connect defense to offense in transition, to make some really smart passes in the offensive zone and just connect play incredibly well. With Ritchie, it's a bit more on the creative side of that, where he's looking to create that primary assist. He's making dangerous plays happen. Whereas with Ungersorum, it's great decisions all throughout. With Ritchie, it's all about that cerebral, creative ability. So that's the difference between the two. I think Ritchie is probably closer to the top 5 than Ungersorum is at this point. But I still think that Ungersorum, especially if Sweden makes a run all the way to the final, maybe even wins the gold medal, I think Ungersorum is going to be a very key part of that. Whereas with Ritchie, it's all about how he connects with Cowan and Nadeau, especially if he can help Nadeau get back to his goal-scoring form, get back to using that ridiculous release that he has. I think if those two create a bit better chemistry with Canada and they get out of the mess that got him into that loss against Latvia, I think that'll show great for Callum Ritchie at this tournament. But that's our first segment done. We'll get into our second segment here where we talk about the top 5 defensemen and the honorable mentions that we have on that side. But before we get into that, just a quick word from our sponsors at Rocket Money. Have you ever found yourself wondering, where's all my money going every month? And then realize that you have a bunch of subscriptions that you're still paying for that you're not really using that much? Well, Rocket Money's really good at helping you take care of that. That's happened to me before. I've had subscriptions I didn't even really realize that I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track all of them down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals that you want to set this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features is the subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel services I wasn't using anymore, and I've already saved a ton of money doing that. Plus, with their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future, so no more stressing about budgeting every month. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Alrighty, so let's go into our second segment here where we'll talk about the top 5 defensemen predictions here for the tournament at the World Juniors. And I think the conversation has to start with Axel Sandin Pellikka, especially through the first 2 games of the tournament. We had predicted that probably Zeev Buium would be the better of the two, mainly because of how good he's been in the NCAA. He's been absolutely ridiculous, one of the best defensemen outside of the NHL in the NCAA there with Denver. But Axel Sandin Pellikka is just made for World Juniors hockey, isn't he?
He absolutely is. And I mean, he won the award for best defenseman at the tournament just last year. He is the reigning champion of that award. And I think that he's already taken some strides to regaining that honor this time around. And I mean, that hat-trick performance against Slovakia, adding 1 assist to the tally, being somehow the primary weapon on the power play as a defenseman. So much to like with this player. And he's become a real leader for Team Sweden as well. I mean, he's one of the older players on the lineup now. He has the draft pedigree going 17th overall to the Detroit Red Wings, but he is such a composed and intelligent and creative player with the puck on his stick. That's where so much of Sweden's dangerous chances come from. It's from Sandin Pellikka carrying the puck into the offensive zone, carrying it even on the cycle, walking the blue line, changing angles, sending swift passes either side on the cycle, or shooting himself. He has a variety of tools, so dangerous offensively.
Yeah,
probably a little bit shakier defensively than Zeev Buium is at this stage, but we haven't seen that at this tournament so far, and he's been really fantastic for Team Sweden. I still think it's going to be a 2-horse race mainly between those 2 players, but there's also another American defenseman. So talk me through numbers 2 and 3 on our top defenseman list here, because we have Zeev Buium, of course, as well as Cole Hudson, who logged 5 assists in a single game for Team USA. against Team Germany, and has been really, really the guy moving the puck on the blue line in the offensive zone where everything's just flowing through him, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's been very interesting because Zeke William actually had a pretty rough game against Germany. He wasn't very effective in that game, was losing possession. I'm guessing that's a fluke. That's my prediction on that side, is that that was just a fluke game, and William will be right back to being absolutely dominant in the next fixtures there. But Cole Hudson was really the dominant force on the blue line there for Team USA. Like you said, 5 assists, jumping into every play, creating a ton. He's really the offensive driver from the blue line there, and was developing great chemistry with Hagens, Perreault, and Leonard. Those 4 were pretty much a 4-man unit there out there, and were really phenomenal to watch for Team USA. Hudson's your undersized offensive defenseman, pretty similar in terms of his approach to the game as Lane Hudson, maybe not as creative and dynamic, but very, very offensively gifted and capable of making things happen. So he's still the third cog in that top 3. I still think that Zeke Williams is going to get right back to what he's able to do, which is dominate in all 3 zones and just be a phenomenally mature player. But 3 great defensemen here on that side. And then to round out the top 5, Tom Willander, who's been absolutely phenomenal as well for Sweden, creating from the blue line. A lot more of a safe distributor than Axel Sandin Pellikka is. He makes connective plays and makes the smart plays in the offensive zone on top of being dominant defensively. And then finally, our one guy from Team Canada on that blue line, Tanner Molendyk, in the top 5 here at 5th. Probably the best pure skater in this group. Phenomenal edge work and mobility and speed. And he uses that to defend really well. His activations have been pretty smart so far in this tournament, but there's still another layer of offense to find there with Molendyk. And we're predicting that Canada will get back on the right track and find that. Now we have 4 honorable mentions. Let's go through them pretty quickly. 2 from the Central European nations of Slovakia and Czechia, Thomas Galvish and Luka Radivojevic. What do they bring to the equation that puts them just outside the top 5 here?
Mobility and puck moving skill for both of those players. They're both undersized defensemen. Galvish is a left shot. Radivojevic is a right shot. Galvish is playing some really solid hockey in Czechia. He did last year as well. Deserved to get drafted last season. Didn't. Looks like he definitely deserves to get drafted this time around, and he's been fantastic both in domestic play as well as so far at this tournament. Really intelligent player. He values possession, keeps the puck moving, keeps his feet moving, and just constantly shifting angles, both in leading the breakout as well as in the offensive zone. Is a really good play connector and facilitator. Whereas Radivojevic is playing in the USHL with Muskegon, and he's really coming into his own at this tournament. I believe it's the 2nd or 3rd time back for Team Slovakia here. It's second time. He was playing third pairing minutes last season. He's up into the top 4 capacity this year, and he's just like Galvish, really mobile, constantly keeps his puck and his feet moving, has some transition defending upside as well, but is mainly that player looking for a final pass or a secondary assist to spring a counterattack. But both those players have been very good. But talk me through the last 2 here in the honorable mentions category, one of which I very much pushed for, so I will take the lead on him. But first, talk me through Theo Lindstein, who has been playing some really solid hockey for Team Sweden.
Absolutely. He's the defensive stalwart on that team, the guy that you can rely on to just suppress offense time and time again when the other team is trying to garner momentum. He's really good at stopping that momentum with a really timely rush defense interventions, but also really good box out work in his own zone. Very reliable, physical, capable defenseman in his own zone. Really smart, and he's adding offense with every passing month to his game. So that's kind of the tick on that side in his favor. Whereas with Sam Dickinson, the only caveat that I would bring is that yes, Matt Schaefer's gone. He might get a spot on the second pair, but I think the fact that Team Canada doesn't seem to favor him all that much so far kind of plays against his favor. But if Team Canada gets back on the right track, and especially if Sam Dickinson gets in that top 4,
and power play. Please, power play.
He needs to be there. I mean, Oliver Bonk is a top power play quarterback. He's not even the top power play quarterback on London.
He's not even a power play quarterback on London. He plays the bumper.
So, yeah, I mean, I think with Sam Dickinson, it's just about, does Team Canada finally end up trusting him in a top 4 role and top power play and just lets him be him? Because right now he's not himself with Canada, right?
He is, and they're trying to put him into a box, and that's not what you do with Sam Dickinson. You
Yep.
let him play his game, and I think if he is allowed to do that, if Canada becomes just gives him a bit more runway, a bit more leniency in what he's able to do in that top four capacity with some power play minutes, that he really will enter the discussion of top defenseman of the tournament. But he could just as well stay in that bottom pairing role, not get power play minutes, and not even be close to this conversation. But that wraps up this second segment with the defensemen. In the final one, we're going to talk through the goaltenders as well as the final team of the tournament lineup. So of all the players that we're talking about here in this episode, we're going to bring it down to just 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and a single goaltender for our prediction. But first, a quick message from our sponsors here at Locked On NHL Prospects.
Alrighty, so let's close things off here with our team of the tournament. But first, a quick word on the goaltenders, top goalies at the World Juniors here. So in terms of our top three, I think there's a clear top consideration here. Even though we had a pretty poor game against Germany, I think he's going to bounce back very, very well here for Team USA. And it's Trey Augustine, in my opinion, the most high upside goaltender outside of the NHL right now. In terms of the pure ability to stop pucks and to dominate games, I think he's up there with the best in the groups. I mean, obviously, yes, Provalsis playing in the AHL, he's very, very close. There's some other considerations there, but for me, the things that Trey Augustine can do in terms of puck tracking, mobility, crease control as well, depth control, post integration. There's just so much to his game that he does phenomenally well. And I think that Augustine has a great opportunity to just take this tournament by the scruff of his neck, especially with great performances against the likes of Canada and Sweden. If he's one of the main reasons why USA is able to win gold in this tournament, I think he puts himself in a great position to be the top goaltender out of this tournament. But we have a couple more to talk about. First, Sweden's goaltender, who's been pretty good so far. I think a big part of that is the defense behind which he's playing. In my opinion, the best defense at this tournament, Sweden's defense core. But I think that's going to play in his favor in terms of his numbers as well, right?
Absolutely. Melker Thalin's been really good for Sweden. And I mean, best goaltender of the tournament is actually typically a team award more than it is an individual award. And the best defense as a whole at this tournament is that Swedish defense. So as a group, collectively, we think that they're going to be very, very effective at stopping pucks this tournament. And Thalin's playing a big role with that. He's playing some good hockey as well in Hockey Allsvenskan against pro competition this season. And he's been bringing that to this tournament as well for Team Sweden. Really solid netminder. He's not the flashiest or the most risk-taking goaltender in the world, but he tracks the puck well. He's well positioned and just been a very consistent force for Team Sweden. And the last goaltender I want to mention here is Carter George. There's a couple of goaltenders that I think are very much in consideration for this last spot in the top three, but George had a very good game against Team Finland. He had a shutout in that tournament opener for Team Canada, and fantastically, as Jack Ivankovic did play against Latvia, we suspect that Team Canada is going to want to put as much distance between their lineup and the lineup that played against Latvia. And goaltending is always a place where you can make that kind of change very, very easily. So we think that Carter George is going to be the starter from now on. And he's been fantastic so far for Team Canada, also going back to the U18s in the spring. Very good record with Canada overall. But let's go with a quick fire here in the honorable mentions. First and foremost, I mean, we have to give a shout out to Leonard Spellbergs, the Latvian goaltender who defeated Canada, not single-handedly, but he played the most important role of his entire team in doing so. He deserves at least a mention here because in terms of, I don't know, best goaltender of the tournament, maybe not, but best performance of the tournament for a goaltender, most definitely.
I think actually, if Leonard Spellbergs puts up 50 points, 50 saves against USA somehow, we're talking. Like, there's a possibility. But I also want to give it.
Once this is uploaded, we will know how that game goes. But at this point, as of recording, it's still possible that Latvia goes back to back against Canada and the USA.
That would be absurd. That would be ridiculous. I also want to give a shout out to Petteri Rimpinen of Finland, who's been very, very good for them. Very reliable, very smart in the crease. Not necessarily your most active and aggressive goaltender, but very good at going post to post, staying in his position, staying calm, staying composed. A very Finnish netminder in that sense. And I really like his style. So I think that if Finland can get back on track in terms of their performances and kind of improve their ability to just get points on the board, I think Rimpinen has a great chance of getting in that conversation. And finally, Michael Hrabal of Czechia. He's been great so far. Great save percentage against some decent teams. Played really well against Switzerland. Had some great saves, great performances on that side, even though Switzerland really tried actually in that game to get back into it. But Hrabal was really good in there. And so far, as of recording this, is leading 2-0 against Kazakhstan right now. Not going to face a lot of shots in that game, but as the tournament rolls on, he's going to face more and more shots. He's been great in the NCAA. A great shout for potential goalie of the tournament. But let's get into the team of the tournament now. I think the forwards were about as straightforward as they get.
Boston College.
just put Boston College up here. Ryan Leonard, James Hagens, Gabe Perreault is our prediction of the forwards of the tournament here as the front three there. On defense, though, there's a bit of a conversation on left defense where there's going to be Cole Hudson or Zeev Buium, especially given what we've seen so far. But we predict that Zeev Buium is going to get back on track and get back to being the top defenseman in this Team USA core, and potentially one of the best, potentially the best defenseman in this group if he can get back on track the way we think he can. But it's going to be Zeev Buium and Axel Sandin Pellikka as the two defensemen on the blue line there for the team of the tournament. And in net, let's go with Boston. Let's go with Boston. No, it's not Boston College.
No, it's Michigan State.
And in goal, another NCAA prospect, Trey Augustine, for Team USA. Especially if USA wins gold, I think there's going to be no doubt about it. It's going to be Trey Augustine. But do you have anyone else that you think would be the top goalie in this? Would be able to make the top goalie? Does that change based on who wins gold? Like, what do you think?
Yes, absolutely. Whoever wins gold is going to probably get the best goalie of the tournament because, again, it is very much a team award. But what I will say is I think it's quite clear from our team of the tournament predictions that we think that there is a favorite team of the tournament to win, being Team USA. I mean, 5 of our 6 players here in this prediction are American. That said, if Sweden were to win the tournament, this could look very different. You might see guys like Otto Stenberg in here. I might even see Tom Willander edge out any American defenseman. A lot could still move around there. Malcolm Thelin, of course, is in contention.
And a prospect we haven't talked about. who's
Victor Eklund?
Well, not even. Edward Schala. If he keeps racking up points like he has been so far,
he's been excellent as well.
It's not out of the question. Yeah, it's a great group of prospects here that we have so far at the World Juniors. Lots of guys to talk about, lots of guys to cover. You never know what ends up happening at these tournaments. Someone's going to come out of nowhere and just steal a spot from somewhere else. But at forward, I mean, listen, that Boston line is just dominant, and I don't think it's really close in terms of prospects with the level of chemistry that they have. It's
such an advantage to have had that foundation of chemistry. And I mean, between Leonard and Perreault, it's not just one season of chemistry, it's 3 years.
Yeah. No,
there's a lot going for them here.
100%. But that wraps things up for today's show. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you think of the episode. And if you're listening on your favorite podcasting platform, please leave us a rate and review and make sure to make us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, remember to check out Lockdown Sports Today. They've got all your news and updates about what's going on around sports. And make sure to tune in for our next shows as we continue our prospect coverage and head into January to continue to cover the World Juniors and subsequent events. It's been Hadi Kalikesh with Sebastian High. Thank you for watching. Happy holidays. We hope you tune in next time.